Welcome to Cana90 week 3. When you are through this week, you will be halfway to Easter. So
awesome.
Yay. And I'm sure you're all
so far so good.
Doing great. So our scripture this week, this is the story of Noah and the flood. Now, sometimes we can tend to gloss over this because we kind of see Noah and the ark and the animals and everything as a children's story because, the animals always make it fun. But really what this story is it's a covenant between man and God again. So if you remember, we talked about covenant last week with Adam and Eve, the first married couple. Well, this is another covenant that God is making between himself and not just a married couple, but with a family. So Adam and Eve were, just two people, but now this covenant is with Noah and his wife and his sons wives. So this is with a larger family. Now, I'm going to back up for a second. So we keep throwing around this word covenant. So let's look at this. What really is a covenant?
And it's important for us to, I think, probably understand covenant in its context, kind of as a comparison, right? First, you have a contract, a legal agreement. It's really an exchange of goods. But a covenant is an exchange of persons. And so an earthly judge can value earthly things like contracts. But when you're entering into a covenant, you're binding yourself to the judgment of God. And only God can really value a person. And I think it's important to understand that we're talking about that when you got married, you entered into a covenant because we fall prey to the world's view of marriage.
Right.
And the world often views marriage simply as a contract that can be dissolved and you divide up the spoils.
This is a civil agreement between two parties.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is false, right? But we can fall into the trap of thinking that, well, I'm only going to give of myself when I receive.
Yeah.
Or that I'm going to do so much and I'm going to wait for her to meet me halfway. That is a contractual kind of false understanding. Covenant is you're giving your whole self.
And so really this week, we want all of you to think about the times that maybe we have and you have sinned and fallen short of that marital covenant. How are you giving of yourself today, this week, and the week ahead? Sometimes we fall every day, right? Because we're all selfish. But our love for our spouse and our love for our children should call us on to something greater. Right. Because the reality is that we cannot live this vocation without God being involved. God needs to be a part of your marriage, a part of your parenting, so he will give you the grace because what he's asking you to do is really a supernatural thing. It's very difficult. But when we rely on his mercy and we rely on his grace, he is going to respond, and he will respond with a flood of whatever you need when we take that responsibility for ourselves.
And so let's go back to the story of Noah again, thinking about what was the primary thing that he was doing. He was building something.
Right.
And we're being called to build something in our lives. It was countercultural, right? Noah was going against everyone was thinking he was crazy. And sometimes when we're building a family, a Christian family in this world, people can look and say, we're crazy, we're countercultural. And sometimes we can also think that the things that we're doing are insignificant that are done within our home. But we're building our own ark. And ultimately, the church is the ark of salvation that's going to lead us to heaven. But we're building in our domestic church an ark for our family, and that's really important. Sometimes the insignificant or countercultural things we're doing in our home are really powerful.
And again, if you look at the scriptures, you can see God gives Noah specific instructions. He doesn't say, oh, just go make an ark, I don't care how you do it. He gives specific things, like this many cubits, use this kind of wood, all of that. Well, you know what? The church gives us instruction. Well, God is giving us an instruction through the words of the church, but we're learning this is how we can build a family. This is how we can build a strong ark for our family, for our children. So when you're listening to God and you're living out that family life, you're really leaving a legacy, not just for your kids, but for the generations that will come after you.
And there's something about the little things that we do in obedience to God. Noah was obedient to God,
right.
And his obedience left a legacy for us. And so the little things that you're doing in building a legacy within your own family is going to have impact on generations to come after you. So this Cana90, lean into your covenant. Lean into the ark that you're building in your own home. And this is Cana90, so let us begin again.